Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. This is the third week of You as the Medicine series. And then today we are going to talk about compassion. Let's see what compassion is all about, the science of compassion. And we will talk about this in relation to stretching our comfort zone because remember, every fourth week we are going through the same themes and what feelings are entailed when you are doing something that is stretching your comfort zone. And first of all, why do you need to stretch your comfort zone? And what happens when you are compassionate? And how to be compassionate towards yourself. These are going to be the topics of interest of today. And we will need to have a strong base in our compassionate skills, especially towards ourselves and towards regarding the entire world when we are going through the sessions. Quick overview of what we are going to do. We will be cultivating our witness consciousness. So after the first weeks, we will go into the second weeks, which was the first topic of the second week was reactions and responses in relation to judgments. And the third week, this week, is compassion. And we will look at compassion and the slight differences or similarities between empathy, compassion, and kindness. As it turns out, I did find some related stuff between that, and there is actually more research to find about empathy than compassion. So we will tap into that part. But before we get there, how was the week 2, guys? Was your reaction a choice? Did you guys find yourself react, or did you get a little bit more in charge of your own experience and start to respond to the situations that you used to react? As it turns out, I also shared this in the group that in the beginning, you always understand your reaction after the fact. And as you do more of the mindfulness or awareness stuff, then you see yourself in the moment that you are reacting. And as you get more aware of who you are and what you're all about, then you will catch yourself before a reaction. And then you will have to make a conscious choice whether to react with the past experiences and the patterns that you have been with, or respond as your new best self. So rather than getting into whether you are the one who is reacting or responding, let's clarify this a little bit differently. Did you catch your amygdala overreact? See, this takes us back to first week again. Now that you know that it is not really you, but it is the amygdala which reacts with fear, you can take another perspective on the fourth step of the RAIN method, which is the non-identification. When you are not identified with the reaction, because it's not your true self, it is the conditioned amygdala that is doing the reaction, then it is easier to watch and observe your own behavior. When you are watching and observing, this creates a better stage from the practice of the week 2, which you can get better advice from your best self. Before, I used to ask my friends in relationships and in friendships, and when there is a friction in the communication, rather than asking them what I did that created the reaction, I would sit down and I would ask him, what did he do? What did Wahid do? And this would actually give my friends and family a better framework. So rather than they are talking about you did this, and when you said this it caused me, they would be like, like he did this and then I felt like this. So this non-identification, even in a personal relationship, would create a safe environment so they can vent all they want, and this would actually make the you and I dynamic in a better safe zone. So they would tell me what quote unquote he did to them for them to react, and I'll be like, oh, okay, I understand. And then I would take my role back, and I would probably, if they need explanation, explain him in a situation so they can relate to that event without us getting too caught up into the interpersonal dynamics. But back to the point, the non-identification. So observe your amygdala, and whenever there is a reaction, during, before, or after the fact, ask the advice of your best self as to how to behave maybe in a future scenario. Let's get started here. And as we are getting started, I have a breathing exercise here and a short meditation to get us ready. And quickly describing it here, we are going to inhale, and this is called the box breathing, square breathing, four-part breathing. Let's not get stuck with the name. So when you are inhaling, you imagine like you are going down on your torso, like inhale from your forehead down to the pelvis. It's going to be for a count of 4. And you are going to hold it at the base of your spine for a count of 4. When you exhale, you will push that imagery, or you will push that energy up back through the spine, like behind your body, from the back of the pelvis up to the top of the head. And then you are going to hold it on the top of the head for another count of 4. So inhale down, exhale, hold at the bottom. Excuse me, inhale down, hold at the bottom for 4, exhale up, and hold at the top for 4. Let's see how this goes. Is it relatively clear? And just allow yourself to visualize this. Allow yourself to feel how this goes. And then let's get it started here. We are going to take a normal, relaxed moment to let yourself feel how you are feeling. Let the body settle. Let the breath settle. A nice soft exhale. And then start to inhale. Hold for 4. Exhale from the back. And hold on the top. Inhale down. Hold it at the bottom. Exhale up, back. Hold it at the top. Inhale down. Hold it at the bottom. Exhale up. Hold it at the top. 2 more. Inhale down. Hold it at the bottom. Exhale up. Hold it at the top. 1 more circle. Inhale down. Hold at the bottom. Exhale up. Hold it at the top. That's it. Now allow your body to settle and relax. Now we are going to do a little bit of an experiment. Just a tiny bit. This practice is inspired by Dan Siegel. So I am going to tell you guys one word, and you will just notice how that word makes you feel. Still continue breathing like we breathe, but no holds. Breathe in a calm manner. And then what you need to do is to notice how you feel. That's it. The first word, and I'm going to repeat it a few times. No. 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 Now allow your awareness to settle. Ready to receive the second word? Yes. 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 Now bring your awareness back to your breath. Allow your body to a neutral state and notice your sensations for a while. And if you feel like it, just say how you felt. How did the no feel? You can put it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself. How did no feel? If you don't feel comfortable putting it all in the public chat box, you can send it privately. So we have kind of sad, felt contracted in the space around the heart. There's a bad girl feeling. There's that constriction. There is no is empowering. Okay, we have all the different, and how about yes? Oh, for the no, we have a wall in front of me when you felt the no. Okay, there is the rejection. I see, I see. How about yes? How did you feel when you heard yes? Light and happy, expanding, open. Anything else? Acceptance. Very nice. I never like being told no. Okay. Yes, doing great. So there is like a flow and acceleration with yes. There's an affirmation with yes, but there is like a blockage with no, but for one feedback. So, okay. Yes is light and energizing. Here we go. So let me go back to the slides and keep sharing what we have over there. So when you are actually living in a comfort zone, when you are living in your comfort zone, that is the no state. So the comfort zone actually, according to like normal, maybe common sense, the comfort zone mindset is you staying in the zone and saying no to anything that is challenging. And imagine you living in that no mindset, staying within your comfort zone, staying within your security, and saying no to everything else that is challenging. So notice that word, and then that word, rather than me telling it to you, you're telling it to yourself over and over and again for a lifetime. But when it comes to yes, what happens? Saying yes to challenging stuff, saying yes to the stuff that is going to expand your comfort zone. But there is a little bit of a dilemma here. How do you say yes to something that is challenging? So you say no to stay comfortable, but then you say so much no that you are actually not comfortable and you do not want to step out of the comfort zone to be able to say yes. And that is exactly why we have the topic of today, which is compassion. But what is compassion? There are multiple understandings of compassion. There are many definitions, many descriptions, but let me be honest here. It's like beauty. Can you describe beauty? Can you define it? Sure, you can try, but the reality of it is something too perfect for words. So here we go with compassion, something too perfect for any explanation, especially in the English language. But when you see it, sure, you recognize it. Sure, your heart is lifted. But let's look at the English word itself. It's coming from the Latin root from com and pari, which means com to be with and pari is to suffer. So suffering together. To suffer with is like to be alive. Everyone who is alive is in a state of suffering. There's actually 6 levels of suffering, 6 different types of suffering that we are not going to go into it today, but everybody, I am saying this again, who is alive is in a state of suffering. But let's look at the definition from Oxford. It is a sympathetic pity and concern for the other's suffering or the misfortune of the others. So the main element here is concern for somebody else. Like it is somebody dear to you. Now we have a few close meanings here that some people out there has tried to make a few differentiations between empathy, compassion, and kindness, but there is also altruism. Let's look at empathy. Feeling somebody's feelings like it's your own. Let's look at compassion. Taking action to reduce the suffering. And remember, these are Western point of view. These are relatively scientific explanations of these states. So take action to reduce somebody's suffering is called compassion, whereas taking action not to reduce suffering but to produce flourishing is called kindness. So the Western point of compassion includes action in it. And I do have a few things to say about it, but before, let's go to consider another more Eastern definition of compassion, and this is coming from Buddhism. Compassion, I don't want to butcher the words, but it's karuna or nyinge, is a mental state endowed with a state of concern. See, the concern with the East and West, they are there the same. That focuses on another being, still there, but wishing for that being to be relieved of suffering. So the action piece is kind of missing here. The Western point of compassion includes the action, but the Eastern does not. Is there any things that we are missing here? Here, I like to put my input, and the best way that we can relate to compassion is familial or familiar members that we already know. Because basically it feels more natural and more accessible to be able to relate to the sufferings of people that we already know closely rather than remotely. But true compassion is the one that is beyond any identity. So here imagine a loving parent and a child. Most of loving, and I'm saying this in quotes, or caring parents tend to do is to be there for their child at all times. But there is a little bit of a misconception here. They would do anything to remove suffering of the child. And I'm not saying this is wrong. Like if a baby is crying, especially within the first 6 to 12 months in which they are building their basic establishment of trust, you do whatever it takes. But I'm saying this a little bit more like, let's imagine school times. They will do anything to remove the suffering of the child. And what is going on is suffering is actually a lesson. So by removing a suffering for a child, a parent is inadvertently removing a lesson that the child has to learn. What is most common with parents is rather than facing the problem with their kid or child and go through whatever they have to go through, they turn to solve the problem for the child, thinking that it is what being a good parent is all about. And by the way, do you see the self-reference here, being a good parent? The parent think that it is what is being compassionate is all about, to solve their kid's problem when they are in pain. But what the child needs is not somebody to reach out to them to solve their problem or lift their suffering. But the child needs to see a role model who can hold a safe space so the kid can face all of their suffering and then find the healing within the suffering. But why do we help the child, or why are we so eager to remove the suffering or the burden of the child in the first place? I think this, in a way, goes back to the second week of reaction versus the response. Because when you see somebody who is suffering, it is a discomforting feeling. You react to it immediately, and your ego instinctively tells you to fix that. So the suffering is gone, so you feel better about it. So this kind of negates, or this kind of eliminates the lessons that somebody will receive from suffering, because we all suffer and then we all learn something from it. Essentially, what might be better for the child might not necessarily be somebody lifting their burden, but somebody, again, holding a safe space for them, somebody witnessing maybe their own suffering. So they learn how to face it and lift the burden for themselves. And the worst thing really you can do for your child is to take their suffering away anyways, which is taking a life lesson from them, which means that they will have to face the same life lesson later in their life, which they will have to face in another setting and at another time, in which you will probably not even be able to be there for them to help. So, are you really helping a child by lifting their suffering? Is this really compassionate? Or is it what really compassionate is all about is to hold your reactions back, put yourself aside, and create a safe space, some room, some kind of an environment that they can go through whatever they have to go through and come out from the other side as a new person. Probably all they need to know is that they are not alone going through whatever going through. They do not need a fixed solution. But if you are a solution giver, then what is happening is you are making them get accustomed to this, get accustomed to somebody giving them a solution, which will create a perfect dependency pattern for them, something they will have to live with and they will have to figure out and they will have to undo for the rest of their life. So here's the point that I'm trying to make here. Of course, if you see somebody starving, you will feed them. If you see somebody suffering, you will do whatever you can to help them. If you see somebody, again, in pain, you will hold a safe space for them. All these people, though, everybody who is out there that you feel compassionate about is actually an ideal example for you. So you can learn how to be helping, how to be loving, how to be compassionate for your own self. And I'm not saying this from a selfish point of view, because guess what? When you feel worthy of unconditional love within you, then compassion is a natural state that you will find yourself in. If you think you are worthy of unconditional love, you will be compassionate for everybody else. I said compassion is very hard to describe, but rather than describing it, let's figure out what compassion is not about. So, compassion is not pity, compassion is not attachment, compassion is not an empathetic feeling or a wishful thinking. Very important. Compassion is not conditional whatsoever. And in compassion, there is no self regarding. So here comes our perception in a place, especially in relation to others, and the element of judgment from week 2. Let me give another example here for you guys. Imagine a homeless person sitting at, and this is, unfortunately, this is not hard to imagine. Sitting around a corner with a sign, it says, "I'm hungry." Most people would think in the first place, or I would be more nice here, more kind. And some people, I would say, not most people, some people would think here in the first place that rather than being compassionate with the suffering of a human who is being hungry, the immediate thought might be, oh, I'm going to give them some money and they will go buy some drugs with it. Do you see the judgment here? I mean, even if it's true that they will go and buy some drugs with it, who are you to judge? Are you playing God here? Instead of empathizing with someone's need, you are choosing to judge a supposed need that you do not even have enough evidence for. And how do you know what is best for that person anyways? Let's say they will go buy drugs, but the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. By the way, the opposite of addiction is connection. And the isolating thought that you just had in your mind, which is, oh, he or she is going to buy drugs with that, is one of the stems of that person's isolation in the first place. Anyways, let's not go too far into it, but let's not isolate, let's connect. But you have a choice at all times. Do you see that? In how you think and how you respond. And this compassion is something that you have to cultivate within yourself. So here I feel like I have to summarize my own understanding of this phenomenon. Compassion does not mean taking the pain or the suffering away from others. Compassion does not mean helping others so you feel better about it. Compassion is a state of being in which you can truly empathize with others direct the source of unconditional love that is residing within you to them, holding a safe space for them so they can start to become aware of the source of unconditional love that is within themselves. Basically, you are teaching them how to be self-dependent on nothing but love. Let's leave my point aside and look at what Dalai Lama said. Love and compassion are necessities. They are not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. And you have to understand it's like a skill. Compassion is like a muscle. You can train it. Just like everything, the more you train it, the better you get at it. And the better you get at it, the better your life gets. Isn't that awesome? So here we are starting to have some idea about compassion as a concept. But what happens within the body when you're compassionate? Let's go. Do you guys remember these parts of the brain? How is the amygdala? So amygdala is the part of the reptilian brain, which is the most basic, the deepest, most part. And there is the limbic part, which is the sensations and emotions. And there is the neocortex, which is the top part. And on the top part, in that blue part, you see the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is part of the prefrontal lobes. And we have to look at what compassion does here. So when you are compassionate, you increase the activities in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is the blue part, and the extent to which it communicates with the brain regions that involves emotion regulation and positive emotions. So when you are practicing compassion or empathy, then you start to have better self-emotion regulation, and you also increase your positive emotions. And way to create this is a great way to create new pathways, rewiring the overactive amygdala and bringing the attention to the frontal lobes. Because remember, when you are in a reactive mindset, you are being run by the amygdala. But then when you get out of that mindset and then kick in with the compassion, that you are basically rewiring your brain. Back to that fact, the reptilian brain will make you feel like you are about to die. The limbic brain, the second layer, will make you feel like you are suffocating with feelings and emotions. And the neocortex will make you feel like you are a human. And I am saying this within all its complexity. Also notice the connection here between the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and the dorsomedial prefrontal cortex. The dorsomedial part is the blue part, which is activated when you start to make sense of your own story, of your own narration. That is the part where you integrate the internal and the external information of your life. And this part, the self-integration part, is very close and correlating with the other people's stories and other people's pains, which is all a product of your neocortex, which is the last part, which is the most evolved part of your brain. Is that making sense here? By learning how to be compassionate with other people, you are learning how to integrate your own story. And by integrating your own story, you're also activating the parts of the brain that will be helping you to be more compassionate. So we have two crucial parts of the brain that helps us relate to others, which is the vagus nerve and the mirror neurons in the brain. And I have to talk a little bit about the vagus nerve. Again, we are not trying to be neuroscientists here, which I myself is not one. So, but just to have some idea about the systems, like you don't want to be a mechanic of a car engineer, but you do want to know when to put oil in it, when to put gas in it, and when to take it to the service, right? So let's have a little bit. So this is the vagus nerve. It is the kickstarter of the parasympathetic nervous system. And what it does is called the wanderer nerve. It's like the longest and the biggest nerve in the body. It constructs your pupils. It stimulates the flow of saliva. That's why, like, if you are stressed, you run out of spit, like your mouth goes dry, your throat goes dry. It actually activates the down regulation of your heartbeat. So every time you exhale, basically this nerve touches to your heart, and it touches like a mother would touch it. Because if it wasn't for this nerve, then your heart would naturally beat over 100 times a minute. But when you exhale, this nerve touches your heart, and it slows down the heart rate down to an average of 76 in an average person. It stimulates your rest and relaxed response, basically. And the beautiful thing about this is it is at least 80% effort. So what does that mean is there's two ways of nerves, that one gives out command out to the limbs, let's say, and one takes information from the outside to the brain. So this is 80% at least sensory information being fed to your brain. It regulates rest and relax mode, and it down regulates the amygdala overactivation. So if you do not use your vagus nerve, then you will use the other parts of the brain that is making you more scared and more fearful. So this also works with the mirror neurons for social engagement. And there is this person whose name is Stephen Porges, and he came up with a theory that's called polyvagal theory. And there is three parts to it. The first part is the freezing mode. So when you are in a life-threatening situation, you freeze. The second part is the sympathetic response, the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, faint, 4 5s, 5 5s. But what I want to talk about today is the last part, which is the social engagement mode. And look at this. It is on your eyes, and look at the picture in the screen. It goes to your facial expression, and it does everything that you are within the social mode. So when you see somebody smiling, your mirror neurons are replicating this, and then your vagus nerve is taking this information back to your brain, in which you can analyze the fact that you are safe, and this is a good environment to be in. And this is also an access to your gut brain. This makes you decode what your gut brain, or what, the gut, what is it telling you. But information is energy communicated within recognized symbols. And by energy, I don't mean good energy, like my voice through the air molecules vibrating to your eardrums, and then you make sense of the words that I'm saying. That is energy. And then because you know these words, you can make sense of this energy as information. But what if your gut brain is telling you this? Bayanlar ve baylar, bu olay çok iyi, bu olaya devam edelim. Ama bu olay çok iyi değil, bu olaydan uzak duralım. Your gut brain just told you something. What did it tell you? You have no idea, because it was not like, was it not energy? It was energy, but it didn't register because that information was not within the recognized symbols. So if information is energy communicated within recognized symbols, then all the emotions are also energy. And they are communicating something, aren't they? I would like to make a reference here to the Guest House poem of Rumi here. He says, every emotion is a messenger from the unseen. But we have words, and words have connotations, and let's leave the words and the connotations aside and just feel, because eventually, like, the more you feel, the more you get to speak the language of the internal wisdom. Let's go to the next slide. And here I want to quickly go over the positive emotions and negative emotions. This is a psychological term that I'm not very happy, let's say, to use, because again, back to the connotation of the words, we have a response-based emotions and reaction-based emotions like happiness, joy, interest, curiosity. These are all coming from the top part of the brain, or from the heart. And this facilitates wellness within the body. This facilitates health. And on the other side, we have the reaction-based, which is the lower part of the spectrum: anxiety, anger, loneliness, jealousy, self-criticizing, fear, rejection. They are all facilitating illness. But there is something that nobody really knows, or not nobody knows, but it's not very common. Our biggest strength is caregiving. And that is what Darwin taught as well, which was ignored by other evolutionists. So Survival of the fittest, what makes us the most fit is our capacity to give care. And Darwin came up with this when he lost his daughter because he had to experience with suffering and understand the desire to give care that we have, which he thought was our greatest strength. So if being compassionate is so essential and so great, why can we not be compassionate? The reason is that we can't be compassionate most of the time because we lack our own self-regulation. If we are stressed and overwhelmed, seeing other people suffering triggers further stressing feelings within us. Watch the word though, it's a reaction. And the first reaction to other people's suffering is to avoid it. Notice yourself when you are scrolling through social media next time, for example. Notice the amount of time you spend on the good posts versus the bad posts. If you're a compassionate person, you can spend equal time because you cherish other people's successes and you can hold room for other people's sufferings. But if you are in a reactive state, then you only interact with the posts that create positive sensations for you. This, of course, includes stressing or depressing news all around the world, but this might also include other people's good times or success as a stressor. Why? Because if you are in a reactive state, you start to compare and envy, which are also products of your reactive mind. So, how do you increase your window of tolerance and become more connected with everyone? The first step is to become a bit more connected with your own self. Self compassion, right? What self compassion looks like is you being in a state in which you are not living an individual life. You are not living a self centered or an isolated life. I mean, doesn't that seem a little bit foreign to us, especially today and in the Western culture too? It kind of does, but let's continue. The fact of the matter is, we lost our tribe, we lost our village. Living in cities with millions of people, we lost our neighbors, we lost our friends, and essentially, we lost ourselves. So, what does self compassion look like? Is to be connected with your own self first, your own need for connection, your own need for community. Acknowledging your own dearness and the dearness of others. No comparison mindset. If you need to compare, compare yourself with those who are in a worse situation than you are, which will cultivate gratitude, which is a better base than any other sensation, anyways. Once you are grateful, you will start to deactivate the fear motors of your brain and you can step into, like, say, other forms of greater experience of life. So, gratitude is a great base. It's like the mother of all the positive emotions. It's an awesome first step to start to step out of an isolated stage of being to connectedness. No more isolation, maybe. The truth of the fact is, you cannot be grateful enough for all the things that you already have by default. I mean, at this age, accessibility is a great reason to be grateful for. You don't have to go to library to learn about something new. You don't have to wait for the harvest to get the food on your table. Everything is easily accessible. Internet, electricity, running water, what else? Somewhere to stay. These are still not the basics though. What is basic is still being taken for granted. What about clean air to breathe? Ability to talk or hear, to think? What about being able to move, to have limbs? How about being able to eat and digest food? You know what happens in the absence of these? So, just the fact that we are being is a great reason to be grateful. Even having the luxury to be upset, to be angry, to be bored. These wouldn't be an option if you were not living a comfortable life. So, always be grateful for the things that you have by default. And your entire life will not be enough to be grateful for everything that you already have. So from this point of gratefulness, everything else will fall in place. And again, how do you cultivate compassion or self-compassion? Is by knowing that you are worthy of your own care. But let's look at this. How do you cultivate compassion? First, you focus on the similarities. Everyone at some point in their life must have thought that their suffering is unique and nobody understands them, which is another part of isolating behavior. And people try to be like other people in their expressions of the self. I want to be like this celebrity. I want to be like this authority, like this role model, yada, yada, yada. But this creates more confusion, isn't that? Rather, we got this all very confused. It's very essential that we have to understand this. We are not unique within our suffering. We are identical within our suffering. Everybody is going through a different form of the same suffering. And without becoming wannabes, without even trying, we are unique within our own self-expression without even trying. So that way, one of the layers of suffering is removed. Just find the similarity within the suffering and leave alone everything else that you are not of, and then you will be end up with your own unique self. So cooperate. Do not compete with other people. Because imagine if this is a community and everybody has a part to play in and nobody has the same parts, then you will find your own self. You will find your own role. See people as individuals. This is great. Like if I say 500 million people, I'm just going to make up the number, but 100,000 people died in Africa out of hunger. 50% of people are going to bed without food. It doesn't register as drastic as, there is this girl in Bangladesh and she's suffering of hunger and her friends and her family cannot find food for 1 week. When I tell an individual story, then you understand it, not numbers, not statistics, but every individual. And also you have to believe that you are worthy of doing good. Like most of the time, you do not have the belief within you that you can do something to create positive change in the world. So also, in order to activate the rewarding mechanism, notice how you feel when you are compassionate. Notice the state of your body. Notice the state of your mind. And very basic, imagine yourself being in somebody else's shoes. These are the steps to cultivate compassion. And I want to take another quote from Rumi here. Our greatest strength lies within the gentleness and the tenderness within our heart. And I would like to show one last picture for you guys. This is it. What do you think this is? This is a mother hugging their child and giving them a kiss on the forehead. Do you see any part of the amygdala being activated here? This is a straight MRI. So look at the frontal parts. The middle part that the child is activated is a sense of being here and now. The middle, and the mom is integrating, is loving, and is compassionate. Where is amygdala? There is no fire on it. So before we practice, let's stop this for a second and check back with you guys. We don't have much time, but we have enough time. How is this so far? Are we ready to do some practice? And if you feel like it, just drop a few things that let's integrate the information because I talk yada, yada, yada. Let's integrate the information, like whatever stuck with you, 1 point or two, just maybe write it in the checkbox or say it out loud. Or if you don't want to do it, just say it to yourself. I will give you some 30 seconds. So we have holding a safe space instead of being a solution giver. Yes, that is the key because really not every scenario, of course, but the scenario that I am talking about is you see other people suffering and you are not helping them because they are in a state of suffering. You are helping them because you are stressed by their suffering. So you fix it so you feel better about it. So that is out of the way. Expression of self are unique and suffering is common. And I think this is also one of the greatest things that we get it wrong, because everybody wants to be unique, and then we want to be unique within our suffering, but that is just not right. We are already unique in the way that we are. So if we leave everything that we have been conditioned apart and feel free to express ourselves, then we will find our own uniqueness. And suffering, everybody is suffering one way or another. No matter what they are go through and how they seem, they are in a state of suffering. And that's why we have to be kind and compassionate. We are motivated to act to help others when we can help an individual versus 5,000 many others. Yes. So like tapping into that individual part of the person, seeing a person rather than a figure, like more like an individual that is sharing the same common pattern. That's very nice. We are more capable that way. Yes. So are we all ready to practice? Let's get this going. Just settle down and get comfortable. Bring your awareness to your breath. This is going to be about 15 minutes, maybe 20. Who knows? We are going on a journey, guys. No seat belts and no luggage here. So bring your awareness to your breath and focus entirely on the way that you are breathing. If you feel comfortable, feel free to close your eyes and bring your awareness within. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Simply observing the fluctuation of the breath. Notice what is rising with the inhale and notice what is changing with the exhale. And a few more breaths. Allow yourself to intentionally and actively relax your body with every exhale. Quickly checking in with your senses. Notice the sounds that you hear from the speaker of your computer, from the room that you are in, from the sounds of your breath. Start to notice any smells. Start to notice any taste. Start to notice the presence or the absence of thinking. Notice what kind of emotions are present. Notice what kind of thinking is present. And start to bring your awareness to the sense of touch. Notice the air molecules that is transmitting my voice to your eardrums. Notice the touch of air in your bare skin. Notice your clothing that is in touch with your skin. And notice your body that is in touch with the place that you are seated. Take a moment to notice your entire skin. Relax the scalp and the top of the head. Relax the jaw and the throat and the back of the neck. Start to relax your shoulders, the length of your arms, the base of your palms, and the tips of your fingers completely relaxed. Start to relax the front of the torso, the back of the torso, and the lower back. Relax your hips, the back of the thighs, the back of the knees. Relax the calf muscles, Achilles tendon, and the heel. Just becoming aware, just allowing to be and allowing to relax. Notice the soles of your feet. Notice your toes, the tips of your toes, and the space in between your toes. Now noticing the top of your feet, front of your ankles, the whole length of your shin bones. Notice your kneecap and the space behind the kneecap. Notice your lats, the front of your pelvis, and notice the abdominal area. Notice the abdominal cavity. Allowing your breath to go in and out to this space of comfort and relaxation. Now take a moment to allow your awareness to develop a little bit more on your incoming breath and exhaling. Notice a subtle coolness with the inhale that you can feel right at your nostrils without even trying. And notice a subtle sensation of warmth as you exhale. So inhaling cool, exhaling warmth right at your nostrils, and allow the sensation to develop. Keeping your awareness along your spine. Now let's imagine some colors. Noticing red like an apple. Noticing purple like the sky at night. Noticing orange like the orange. And noticing blue like a round and smooth blueberry. Take a moment to notice yellow like the bright, warm, beautiful sunshine. And noticing light blue like the color of a sea and the ocean. Take a moment to notice the color of green, a light green, perfect tone of green that you like, that you can pick from the selection within a forest. Now see yourself walking through a path within the forest. Notice how the soil, the earth beneath your feet feels like. Notice the texture of the bark and the colors of the leaves. As you are taking this walk, you notice that the edge of the forest is leading a nice narrow path towards a mountain. And at the beginning of the path, there is a guide. And the guide welcomes you with a big smile and a warm heart. And the guide tells you, I have been waiting for you. Let's go. So allow yourself to take yourself on this journey, going through the mountains, climbing through the rocks, walking through the winding paths that is going right and left, zigging and zagging, up and around towards the top of the mountain. Some places are rocky and steep, and you see your guide moving through these terrains effortlessly. And you are also making it through with some effort, going up through the windy roads towards the top of the mountain, noticing the texture on the rocks and the freshness of the air as you are climbing up. So as you are moving up through the mountain, you notice that the top is not a peak, but a plateau. And your guide is nobody else but your own best self. So you're integrating in this plateau, seated with yourself, looking down at the mountain, having an expansive view of your life. And here in this space, imagine someone or something, a person or a pet or a thing that you love unconditionally. Allow the presence of this person or being to be present right with you on this plateau of the mountain, and tell them from the silence of your heart, may you be at peace. May you be at ease. May you be healthy. And may you be loved. Repeating this to the person that you love unconditionally. May you be healthy. May you be at ease. May you be at peace. May you be loved. So as you feel the presence of this person, allow that person to drift off from your imagination. Allow yourself to breathe on the top of the mountain, relaxing and releasing. Now bring a stranger in your mind. Somebody that you have no idea or no relationship. Maybe just some face, somebody you have seen once. Maybe a picture or somebody that you have seen walking on the street. Some face, some being. And allow the image of this person to develop. And tell this person, may you be healthy. May you be at ease. May you be at peace. And may you be loved. And allow the stranger to go off into their own way with the peace and the blessings that you just wished on them. Come back to yourself, releasing and relaxing on the top of the mountain. Noticing the wind on your skin and the freshness of air right at your nostrils. You feel like taking a nice big inhale all the way down to your belly. And this time, let's imagine somebody that you might be relatively reactive with. Keeping the intensity of this somebody right at the right depth for your own experience, as this is your mountaintop and you are in charge of your own experience. And maybe from a distance, wish this person, may you be healthy. May you be happy. May you be at ease and at peace. And may you be loved. Now allow this person to drift off into the space away from your imagination and come back to yourself, settling with your breath on the top of the mountain, breathing in and breathing out, relaxing and releasing into your own being. And from the depth of your heart, with the silence that you have back to yourself, now allow these phrases to be resonated back to you. You to yourself, may you be healthy. May you be happy. May you be at ease and at peace. May you be loved. May you be loved. May you be loved. Now start to become aware of the surroundings that you are in, the mountaintop, the color of the sky, maybe some idle clouds moving carelessly through the horizon. Seeing and having a bird's eye view perspective down on your life from the top of the mountain, and feel the peace and the ease that you have here, that is available to you at your own disposal at all times. Understanding that it is time to make it back down the mountain. Have a few more moments here, you with yourself, before you start your journey back. Slowly heading back through the Rocky Mountain, down to the swirling roads, right back into the forest of green leaves. Now allowing yourself with 5 more inhales and exhales to come back. Allow yourself to become aware of your body, breathing in and out. Maybe 4 more breaths, allowing your awareness to settle in to the room that you are inside. 3 more breaths, becoming aware of the visuals that you remember from the room. 2 more breaths, relaxing and releasing on your own seat. And the last breath, gently and slowly open your eyes back to the present moment. Welcome back, everybody. Just allow your awareness to settle in here. And quickly, let's go through the next couple slides as what's coming up on the week 4 is a little bit more different than the first 3 weeks, as I allocated the 4 weeks for functional alignment and structural integrity. And I'll be talking about how to adjust your lower body, how to use your hips and the legs in a way that is not putting a burden on your lower back anymore. So focusing on the hips and the lower extremities, and we will be diving into what is pelvic floor and how do you engage it and how do you stand in a way that is producing health for you. And quickly, let's check what you need to do for your self practice. What we just did is a loving kindness meditation or a metta meditation, and practice this kind of meditation. You don't have to sit down and relax and all that. You can just think about it and practice this impromptu at least 3 times, especially when you find yourself judging or reacting to something else. And just find yourself wishing whoever or whichever situation you are in, wishing that situation to be happy, to be healthy, to be at ease, to be at peace, and to be loved. And the fact that I created a Facebook group here, that we have the group, it's facebook.com/groups/US the medicine. And I'd like to talk about this group for a second here. The point of this group is really to be vulnerable and to be seen in a safe environment, because everybody in the group is already people who has been going through this and being with us either through the online sessions or if they can't make it through the recordings of the video. And I do not allow anybody who is not going to be a right fit for the group. So just go on the group, and then after you do this loving kindness meditation, just reflect on how you feel and how you felt. Allow yourself to be seen as much as you want to be seen, and allow your heart to be shared with other companions that we have on this tribe. So thank you so much, everybody. God bless you all.